Hello there, everybody, and welcome to a bonus episode of the Red Delta Project Podcast. Today, I am speaking with my good friend Michelle, who is the owner of Drop Weight Daddy. He has been commenting a lot on a bunch of the comments on the YouTube channel and stuff, and he always keeps exposing a little bit of his story that is just so interesting. And, well, I just had to get him on so he could share his story with you as well. So, basically, without further ado, Michael, how's it going, man?
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Oh, great, thanks.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come on to the podcast here. And like I was saying in the intro, that your story and some of the things that you have done, it's just really impressive. Now, how much weight have you lost up at this point?
Thank you, sir. Actually, I had started gaining a little lean mass back. Started at 340 pounds, 40% body fat. Dropped down to 205 pounds at 15% body fat. Now I'm up to 225 at 12% body fat.
Man, that is insane. You're a different person at that point. When you lose that much weight and you change your body that much, that goes way beyond physical. I mean, that's not like just saying, oh yeah, I've got a little bit more muscle tone. That is a complete change over quite a while.
Thank you, sir.
How long did that take you?
It took me to drop down to 205, 14 months.
14 months. It's actually relatively very quick. That's very fast. Now, what was some of the impetus and the starting motivation behind you doing that?
Well, long story short, my father had passed away, and he had very poor health. So did my mother. And I could just see myself going down that same path. And being a husband and a father, I'm too jealous to let my wife remarry at my death, and I refused to let another man raise my daughter. So that was my motivating factors.
I can imagine that's quite the motivation. So what, did you just wake up one day, or was this something you kind of thought about for a while?
Well, actually, it was little baby steps. I knew I wanted to do something. And so I started, okay, what do I know the obvious that I can start with? I was just starting there. And I knew I drank at least 7 sodas in a day, average. So I said, okay, stopped right there. And just went with coffee, black, of course, coffee, tea, milk, and water. That was my starting point. And that was a big change in itself after just a few weeks.
I imagine. I'm always telling folks when they come to me and they're like, I want to start losing weight, I always go for the liquid calories first. Because oftentimes those are the ones that are a much bigger influence towards body fat levels. Not just weight, but body fat levels. And not often, but not always, but inevitably when someone's like, I can't lose the weight, I'm struggling, it's like, what are you drinking? Is it soda, juices, alcohol? A lot of times people also, they find like the protein drinks, the smoothies, they're like, well, it's healthy. It's still a ton of calories and sugar that you're consuming in a big shot. And when the people like you, they go to coffee, black coffee, tea, water, stuff like that. I mean, that's going from one end of the spectrum to the other. And like yourself, like I've known people to lose weight and they don't even touch their diet, like what they actually eat. They just, the liquid calories alone are a big step.
Big change, yes.
So how much did you lose with just cutting out the soda?
Well, approximately in about 3 weeks, 20 pounds right there.
Phew. Wow. Well, you were consuming a lot to begin with. I mean, 7 a day.
Average, yes.
Was that really a hard change to make? Was it difficult, or was it fairly easy for you?
Oh, yes. Part of it was, I was a sugar addict. I was just, that was my pleasure. Mm-hmm. That was my problem. I was addicted to a lot of the sugar.
Wow.
And I hated to admit it, but I had to admit it before I could change it.
Mm-hmm. So you went to the coffee and tea. Now, were you drinking those things beforehand, or was that kind of new for you?
Coffee on occasion, but not more. Just usually like maybe in the mornings only, and very little water. Only if I'm maybe when I was thirsty outside, or maybe if I occasionally went to the gym and take some water with me. Other than that, it was usually, like you just said, fruit juice or something that had some kind of sugary taste to it.
Okay, yeah. So you swapped the soda for the coffee and tea and water and stuff. That dropped 20 pounds in a few weeks. That's impressive. So where did you go from there?
Okay, and of course, well, forget any kind of alcohol. That was me. In 2003, I'm a former alcoholic, so in 2003, that was the last any kind of alcohol I ever dropped since then, and I refused to touch it ever since then. I have no control over it, so it's best to get rid of it. So.
Interesting. So you really did a cold turkey approach on a bunch of this stuff. That's
thank God for it.
Really amazing that you could do that. Usually I have the slower ease in approach, but sometimes that does work for people. I know in the past I talk about like the all or nothing mindset and how it can be very toxic, but sometimes you got to get to that point where you're like, all right, I'm done. Yeah, that's it. Flip the page, turn a new chapter. This is completely done. Did you feel when you made that switch like that was truly the end of those habits, or was it kind of like, well, I'm going to kind of try it and see?
I can tell you an interesting story that really had to give me a good wake-up call.
Oh, good.
Okay. One of my biggest weaknesses was Krispy Kreme donuts.
Yep.
So I made a plan. This was me making a strategy. I took your advice on, made a strategy on this. Went to Krispy Kreme's when the light was on. The fresh as I can get. 2 packs of ketchup with me. 2 small packets of ketchup. Picked up a donut, put both packets of ketchup on the donut, and yes, it was gross. Ate the donut, forced myself to eat it and swallow it. That sticks with me to this day. I can tell you exactly what it tastes like. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And now that's what, when I look at a donut now, that's what comes to my mind. So I had to take that kind of a system to shock my system.
Interesting. Very interesting.
It worked for me. It may not work for anyone else.
Hey, man, whatever gets the job done, when you're making a big change like that, but I like the creativity. Like the lesson that I really get from you doing this is you're looking at your situation, you're assessing it honestly, and you're thinking, what can I do that I know is going to work for me? And you weren't going out there asking a million people on the internet, like, what do you think I should do? What do you think of this diet? What do you think of this program? You just honestly looked at what you were doing in your situation, and you said, all right, I need to change. And usually when you've got habits like that, it's pretty obvious what needs to happen. A lot of times we look for advice because we're not willing to face the reality of what we know we should really be doing.
Yes.
And you had the courage to say, you know what? I know what needs to be done.
Well,
let's do it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes. It's when you mention somebody, when you're talking to somebody about their food, you're basically, in their eyes, having an affair with their wife. That type of attitude. They kind of like, that's my pleasure thing you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm. So you started to change that around. Now, were there other things in your life that you started to fill into your life to take place of these things? What were you doing for that?
Well, one of the things I started being more active. My daughter, love her so. She's 13 now. She wanted to play. She plays sports, and she wanted me to play with her. And I would just say at the park or something, I would say, honey, I'm just too tired. I'll watch you play. Go ahead. But when I took this into consideration now, I'm kind of like, honey, let's go play together. So I got to enjoy activities with my daughter and my wife. We would all three have just a family time. Mm-hmm. And I loved all that. Even I'll give a little kudos to my wife. She just dropped over 100 pounds herself. Just watching what praise God, she's doing great with it.
Wow. Unbelievable. So from the activity standpoint of things, you're starting to get more active. Were you following any sort of a workout routine, or were you just getting out and being more active?
My first start was, you're gonna laugh, but no, I didn't follow any specific routine. Mm-hmm. I started walking about 10 minutes a day, a brisk walk, something will get me to the point that if I'm carrying a conversation, I start having difficulty just to speak while I'm walking. That's when I knew my heart was in about the right rhythm. Mm-hmm. And that was my enjoyment at that time. Just something consistent. Mm-hmm. I was able to do that at least once a day, every day, and it was consistent on it.
Yep. And that, we're conducting this interview here, and I knew a little bit of your story, but I didn't know things like this. But time after time, this is what I keep hearing when people tell me I lost a lot of weight, I kept it off and stuff. When it comes to exercise, walking by far is the most common variable because of that consistency. Yeah, it's free, it's consistent, you can do it daily. It's not something that's going to beat you up. When you're carrying weight, like walking around is going to be pretty intense. It's not a casual stroll through the park. I mean, anybody out there listening going, I don't know about walking and stuff, put on a 100-pound weight vest and go for a walk.
It's like a farmer's walk with the weight on you.
Exactly. And you will know that is some pretty serious exercise. That's why I'm always saying walking. Like, it's amazing what benefits it is. I know in the 90s it kind of got trendy. Like, there was Walking Magazine and everything like that. But to this day, people ask me, what's your favorite exercise? I said walking. You know,
Excellent.
It's so versatile. It is so efficient. And it's so effective.
It is very effective, yes.
Yeah. So you start walking.
More fun.
Yeah, more fun. You can do it with people. You're out playing with your daughter. You cut back, or you eliminated the liquid calories. I mean, this is the other thing that I admire so much about your plan is you had this multifaceted approach. You know, you didn't just do the walking and say, I'm going to lose it all through the walking. Or you didn't do your diet. You're looking at many many different variables, and it all adds up to a much bigger effect. So you got that, you got the walking. What else was going on? What other changes did you make later on?
One of the things that is, I was in martial arts when I was 10 years old. I started just doing my regular calisthenics, which I enjoy. They're more fun to me than going to a gym. Mm-hmm. Like squats, for instance, just basic movements. Squats, push-ups. I have me a little homemade pirouettes that I use for doing push-ups, incline push-ups, and until I can actually build myself to the strength level I can do a regular push-up. With a lot of weight on you, a regular push-up is pretty difficult.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you're overweight, that's the thing I love about things like walking and calisthenics and stuff, is when you're overweight, everybody talks about your excess weight like a liability. Doctors talk about it with health risks and stuff. But when you start doing body weight exercises, it now becomes an asset. It's the thing that's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you burn more. So that weight is actually an advantage rather than a disadvantage for that sort of thing. Yeah. So basic calisthenics, you're walking around. And again, so much of this is about just consistency, day in, day out, getting it done, getting it done. Did you have any moments where you were really doubtful and you were like, boy, I really don't know if I can do this?
Well, this is some other things my own little research I found while I was doing this, constantly trying to learn. And kind of like, okay, what can I learn to do here? What can I learn to do that? Is forget the scale. Forget that scale. It is a demon from hell, in my opinion. I went with a little fabric tape measure, and I started measuring every part of my body. That way, to keep the mindset going, because the scale may show I made some progress. It may not show I made some progress every week. It may show a little progress, and the tape measure shows me what actual progress a shirt may fit or get loose. And the jacket I'm wearing now is the one I could wear 20 years ago, but I could not wear 6 years ago. So. Yeah,
I like that. It's so much easier to kind of measure, because really, when we're talking about I want to lose weight and stuff, you don't want to lose weight. You want to lose size. You want to lose mass. So from a scientific and engineering standpoint, you measure that which is important. So weight is important, but I used to care about my weight when I was bike racing because weight actually mattered. I didn't care about my size. I cared about my weight.
There you go.
But you cared about size, so you measured size. And I think that's a heck of a lot more of a practical way to go about it, because otherwise you're measuring variables that are sort of related, and it's hard to get a bead on what's actually working if you're going in that very vague approach of measuring things. So you're measuring your size. You're active most every day. Did you have like days that you just totally took off, or were you active every day?
Well, when you're walking, you're constantly, it's basically an everyday, but as far as specific, say, strength training, calisthenics, so forth, that was maybe average 5 days out of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Sundays, I tried to mainly going to church, and I'll leave that as my rest day. But what times I'm at work, my work allows me to be very mobile, which I love. So I'm making extra effort to take the stairs instead of the elevator, so forth like that, just to keep movement.
Mm-hmm. That's the other thing is there's so much opportunity out there if you're looking for it. The opportunities to be active and healthier choices. I know people don't agree with me on this one, but I honestly believe now is when it's the easiest time in human history to be healthy and strong.
Amen.
And people are like, no way, man, it's the hardest. It's like, well, it depends on where your attention is pointed. And you flipped it into like, oh, I can be active here. Look, I've got stairs. Look, I've got this. Look, I've got these resources. And when we turn our attention from the disadvantages to the advantages and the opportunities we have, we find they're all over the place.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome, man. So what are you working on now, and what are your hopes for the future?
Well, one of the things myself in my training, one thing I like to do, because I've been at it now for 6 years, and I've been able to keep the weight within manageable areas, is I love suspension training. It's more fun. Gymnastics, calisthenics, suspension. It's more fun. And if it's more fun, it makes it more consistent, more enjoyable, and not even to go inside with the different hormone levels that goes up and down when you enjoy and hate to face it and all that good stuff. One of the things I kind of worked it backwards. I went from very large to small, and then ended up trying to get certified to be a personal trainer. Kind of the backwards way, but I figured if you walk the road, at least you can help somebody see where the potholes is that's walking that same road. You know?
Yep. Yeah, man, I tell you that's super beneficial, because so many times trainers, they don't have that background. They don't have the ability to relate. And one of the best ways to be a teacher is to have walked the path beforehand. I mean, in Japan, the word for teacher, sensei, literally means like before life or previous life, meaning that you have experienced what you are teaching beforehand. You are not someone coming with a book. You're not read up on theories and like, well, the research currently shows. If you're going to be a sensei or a teacher in something, it's because, look, I have walked the walk and made all the mistakes, and I have traveled that path myself, and now that makes me qualified to do it. So you are in much better condition and shape for being a great trainer than most other people coming out.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So know that. So just to wrap things up here, last words of wisdom. Someone out there, they've been losing weight, they're trying to lose weight, they're thinking about losing weight, whatever their situation is, what are the top 3 tips you can give them?
Top 3 tips, I would cut the sugar down to a minimum that you can take in. I would green vegetables, go green. I tell my daughter all the time, eat anything green. She said, how about the green M&M's, Dad? No. Go green. Go green, and drink water, as much water as you can. Myself, I like to get approximately about a gallon in the 24-hour period. But that's one of the tips. And enjoy your training. Whatever it is you enjoy to do it. The activity. Play basketball, roller skate, whatever it is. Just awesome. Enjoy it.
Great advice. Couldn't have said it better myself. Is there anywhere that someone can reach you if they have questions?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
My email address, dropweightdaddy, one word, dropweightdaddy@gmail.com. They can send me an email there.
Great.
Yes, I got approached by a publisher. They can even look at my book if they want to.
Sure. Fantastic. And if you want to find them too, you're on YouTube, right? You're leaving a lot of comments on the RDP channel. Do you have a channel as your channel as well? Is it the same handle?
Yep. Yes, sir. Drop Weight Daddy. That's it.
All right. Everybody go find his videos. Yeah.
You see my little space there? So.
But again, to reemphasize everybody, like this is how it's done. This is the real life practical information. There's no theory and what should work and may work.
Power pills or nothing.
Exactly. This is as real and raw as I can find out there. And that's why I wanted Michael here on the podcast, because his story is honest, it's real, and I think everybody can benefit a lot from it, from what you've done and what you will continue to do in the past. And now with the RDP podcast, more people know your story. So
thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
And thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for coming on. And I look forward to seeing you on the channel in the future.
Well, believe me, I'll be following your channel. You've taught me more than you realize.
Awesome. All right, everybody. So yeah, Drop Weight Daddy. Go find him. If you have questions, look him up. And if you have any other questions for me specifically, reddeltaproject@gmail.com. I'll talk to you guys next time. Until then, be fit, live free.